Voss applies the omniscience of God in his self-communication to predictive prophecy. This is so beautiful to see.
Right.
And I'll sketch it thumbnail, and then
fascinating.
Camden, if you want to expand as you see fit, please do. But here's the point. He's saying in predictive prophecy, you have a sign of conjunction consisting in the prediction that two, possibly both natural, events will come together in time, and which in the last analysis is reducible to the omniscience of God, showing his supernatural presence in the course of things as clearly as the sign of omnipotence. Now let's do a quick decoding of that. Here's what Voss is saying. Voss is saying when a prophet makes a prediction of an event coming in the future, the words of God through that prophet are naturally passing through to the people. And in the words of the prophet, the words of God are naturally passing through to the people in the words of the prophet. And what guarantees infallibly that the thing predicted will come to pass in time is nothing but the omnipotence and omniscience of God that the words express. So that the very words that the prophet speaks, though they come through him, do not find their origin in him, but rather they find their origin in the divine person of the Spirit of the Son, speaking in such a way now that the words themselves create the thing they anticipate. In other words, there's a power to the word of God that brings to fruition the very thing it predicts. And so here's the point. If you lose the omniscience and the omnipotence of God as that which predictive prophecy expresses, you have no confidence at all that that prophecy will infallibly come to pass, because God would be limited, God would be mutable, God would not be omniscient, God would be not omnipotent. And if he's not, then really what do you have? You have a God who lacks all power, lacks all knowledge, and is just as changeable and mutable as the prophet himself. And therefore his word could not be, in the nature of the case, infallibly true. So if you have a mutable God, you've got a fallible prophet and a fallible prophetic.
Well, you look at the words of Malachi 3:6, I, the Lord, do not change, therefore you're not consumed. I mean, that's not just applicable to Malachi's situation, and it's not only applicable to a very narrow sliver of what God promises according to his covenant. It's not like, well, I don't change according to what I promised you, but on these other things I might change. He's speaking of his very nature, and that's tied up with his speech, so that if God says something, it's not that he's just really determined to do it. It's that it's his own nature that it will not be changed or undone. And so what's interesting about what Voss says here in connection between omnipotence and omniscience, and the connection between the words that God speaks predicting the future, that might not even be the most accurate way to say, because he says on page 232, but we shall have to conceive of the connection between prophecy and fulfillment as closer still. The representation emerges here and there that there is a causal nexus between the predictive word spoken and the event following at its own appointed time. Now, we might think, I've thought this way before. When you see a miracle, you say, wow, that's amazing. What a great and wonderful, powerful demonstration of God's omnipotence, his power. He did this mighty thing.
Yes.
But others might see that as, oh, well, that's unusual, or maybe this person has limited power to control certain events in natural history. You can manipulate things rather than causing them.
Yes.
And what Voss is saying here is that we should be no less impressed with omniscience than we are with omnipotence. And in fact, we should think even more closely about divine speech and prediction as not just God looking down in the corridors of history, like
Yes.
he's getting a peek into what's down there, but the very fact that he's saying this is making it so.
Yes.
It's almost a
Camden,
performative word in this
you
way.
you've gotten to the heart of it, brother. The sentence there on the top of page 232 I've got highlighted. The divine word, and I'm just gonna amplify, spoken through the prophet
Right.
and then committed in inscripturated form. That word is invested with a self-realizing omnipotent power. It is a word that works miracles. So it's not a word that simply predicts an independently worked miracle. It's a word that is the beginning of the process of the miracle itself.